93 million motorcycles sold globally last year. America bought 400,000. That's not a market, that's a rounding error. While Americans were financing $20,000 weekend toys they ride twice a month, 3 billion people on 3 continents quietly solved transportation. They didn't need a Harley, they didn't need a Ducati. They needed something that starts every morning, survives roads that would destroy your suspension in a week, and still runs at 180,000 kilometers. They found it, and it costs $2,000. You've never heard of the company that built it. Hit subscribe. This one's gonna hurt a little. Number 1, the $2,000 bike, outselling Harley. The motorcycle that outsells Harley-Davidson 10-to-1 globally costs less than your monthly car payment. Let that sit for a second. Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Harley. These are the names Americans trust. The names on dealership signs. The names in Super Bowl ads. But here's what nobody's telling you. While America was busy building a motorcycle culture, the leather, the chrome, the lifestyle, the rest of the world was building a motorcycle economy. And those are two very different things. In Africa alone, more motorcycles move people to work every single day than all US motorcycles combined. Not on weekends, not to rallies, every single day. That's not a hobby, that's the backbone of an economy. The brand winning those markets doesn't have a single billboard in America, not one. No Super Bowl spot, no celebrity ambassador, no $500 leather jacket in their merch store. Just 70 countries, 13 million units a year, and a service network so deep it reaches towns that don't have a McDonald's, a Walmart, or a paved road. This isn't a niche brand. This is the quiet, dominant force in global mobility. And American consumers have been completely locked out of that conversation by their own dealerships, their own media, and honestly, their own ego. Stay until the end, because the part about what's coming to the US market changes the math on every motorcycle purchase you'll ever make. Number 2, what Americans actually use motorcycles for. 80% of American motorcycle trips are under 10 miles. You're financing a $20,000 machine to buy groceries. That's not a lifestyle. That's a payment plan with a helmet. Here's how America fell into this trap. Post-World War II, returning soldiers brought home 2 things: trauma and a taste for freedom. Harley-Davidson was smart enough to sell them the second one. By the 1950s, motorcycles weren't transportation anymore. They were rebellion. Marlon Brando in The Wild One, Easy Rider. Route 66, the open road is an American birthright. Hollywood sold the dream. Detroit sold the machine. And somewhere between Woodstock and Sturgis, Americans completely forgot that motorcycles were invented to move people, not define them. The average American motorcycle sits in a garage 300 days a year. In Lagos, Nairobi, and Dhaka, the same category of bike runs 200,000 kilometers before its first engine rebuild. Same machine, completely different relationship. A taxi driver in Kampala doesn't care about torque curves or custom paint. He cares about one thing. Does it start at 5 a.m. when his family's rent depends on it? That's a different standard, a harder standard, and it produced a different winner. Americans bought into the myth that expensive means better, that displacement equals quality, that a bike you finance for 7 years is somehow more legitimate than one you pay cash for on a Tuesday. 3 billion people disagree. Stay until the end, because the brand that won their trust is already pulling into your market. Number 3, China tried to win on price and lost. In the 2000s, 160 Chinese motorcycle brands flooded Africa. Today, almost none of them exist. That's not a market correction. That's a massacre. China had every advantage. Massive factories, government backing, prices so low competitors couldn't breathe. An $800 motorcycle sounds like a revolution when the alternative costs 3 times more. African markets opened their doors. Riders lined up. Dealers took the bet. Then the bikes started dying. Frames cracked on roads that Indian bikes handled daily. Chains snapped. Bolts stripped. Engines seized before the first oil change was due. In Rwanda, they gave Chinese bikes a nickname, one-year bikes. Not because the warranty lasted a year, because the motorcycle did. China forgot the oldest rule in emerging markets. A product that fails a poor man costs him everything. A product that works makes him loyal for life. This wasn't an engineering failure. China built satellites, semiconductors, and the fastest trains on Earth. This was a strategic failure. A conscious race to the bottom that treated African riders as a dumping ground instead of a real market worth serving. No parts network, no trained mechanics, no technical manuals, no warranty support, just containers of bikes shipped to a continent and forgotten. The cultural lesson runs deep here. African traders have a saying, cheap is expensive. What looks like savings on day one becomes catastrophic loss by year two. Chinese manufacturers learned that lesson the hard way. Number 4. Italy builds art, not transportation. Ducati builds the most beautiful motorcycles on Earth. They're also completely useless to 3 billion people. That's not an insult. That's just geography. Italy has been making motorcycles since 1893, before highways, before traffic lights, before anyone knew what a superbike was. The craftsmanship runs so deep it's practically genetic. The same national obsession with form and beauty that gave the world Ferrari, Versace, and the Sistine Chapel eventually gave it Ducati, Aprilia, and MV Agusta. And they are genuinely extraordinary machines. But here's the problem. A Ducati requires valve adjustments every 7,500 miles by factory-trained technicians with proprietary tools. That's not a maintenance schedule. That's a hostage situation. It works perfectly if you live 20 minutes from a dealership in California. It's a financial death sentence if the nearest one is 500 miles away on a dirt road. Italian motorcycles have essentially zero market share across Africa, South Asia, and Latin America, the 3 regions that represent the majority of the world's actual motorcycle riders. Zero, not low, zero. The average Ducati costs $18,000. In most of the world, that's not a purchase, that's a multi-year salary. Italian manufacturers never tried to solve that problem because they never needed to. Their customers live in Malibu and Munich, not Mombasa and Mumbai. Beautiful engineering built for a beautiful minority. Meanwhile, 3 billion people needed something that starts in the dust, runs in the heat, and doesn't require a specialist to fix it with a laptop. Number 5. Japan's surprising weak spot. Honda sells 19 million motorcycles a year. They've been the world's largest manufacturer for 50 consecutive years, and they're still losing ground where it matters most. Read that again. Japan didn't just build the modern motorcycle industry, they perfected it. Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. Engineering so reliable it became a cultural stereotype. Buy a Japanese bike, ride it forever. In the 1970s, Japan didn't enter the global motorcycle market. They erased it. British brands, American brands, European mid-tier, gone. Wiped out within a decade by superior engineering at competitive prices. That story is legendary and completely irrelevant to what's happening right now. Because today, across Africa, South Asia, and Latin America, Japanese combined market share sits below 30%. In markets they once dominated, against a competitor that didn't exist on the global stage 20 years ago. The Japanese motorcycle isn't losing because it's bad. It's losing because excellent doesn't matter if the person who needs it most can't afford the parts. A Honda clutch replacement runs $80 to $120. Original parts, long shipping times. The competitor beating them charges $25. Available same day at 3,000 service centers across Africa alone. That's not an engineering problem. Japanese manufacturers asked, what's the best bike we can build? The brand beating them asked, what does a taxi driver in Nairobi actually need? 2 completely different questions. 2 completely different outcomes. Number 6. India's motorcycle empire. nobody talks about. Hero Motocorp alone produces more motorcycles annually than Harley-Davidson, Ducati, and BMW combined. You've probably never heard of them. That's not an oversight. That's an information blackout. India has been building motorcycles since the 1950s, but the real story starts earlier. When Britain left India in 1947, they left behind something unexpected: an engineering culture, factories, technical schools, a workforce trained to build and fix mechanical things with precision and almost no resources. Jugaad, the Indian philosophy of ingenious improvisation, wasn't just a cultural trait. It became a manufacturing advantage. By the 1980s, Bajaj was already the dominant motorcycle brand across South Asia. By the 1990s, they were exporting. By the 2000s, they were systematically dismantling Chinese dominance across Africa, one service center at a time. Nobody noticed. Nobody reported it. No American motorcycle magazine ran the cover story. 13.7 million motorcycles produced annually. Exports to 70 countries. A combined market share across Africa between 40 and 60%. This is not an emerging player. This is an empire that already exists. In Uganda, Bajaj exceeds 80% market share. In Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, Indian brands own the top spots. In Peru, Colombia, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, same story, different time zone. Royal Enfield surpassed Harley-Davidson in global sales back in 2015, not 2025, 2015, a full decade ago. The empire didn't announce itself, it just kept building. Number 7, the ecosystem strategy that changed everything. Bajaj didn't just export motorcycles to Africa, they exported an entire economy around them. That's the move nobody talks about. Every dominant empire in history understood one thing. You don't win by selling a product. You win by making yourself impossible to replace. The British didn't just trade with colonies, they built ports, roads, and administrative systems that made British presence structurally necessary. Standard Oil didn't just sell fuel. They owned the pipelines, the refineries, and the distribution network. Bajaj read the same playbook. 3,000 service centers across Africa, not dealerships in capital cities. Service centers in the next town, the small town, the town that Japanese brands never bothered with. They trained tens of thousands of local mechanics, paid for it, built the curriculum, created employment while creating loyalty, flooded the market with affordable spare parts before anyone even asked for them. Honda has dealerships in major African cities. Bajaj has a trained mechanic and parts on the shelf in the town you've never heard of. That's not a distribution strategy. That's a cultural integration strategy. And it's almost impossible to displace once it's established. When your bike breaks at 5 a.m. and your family's income depends on it running by 6 a.m., you don't care about brand heritage or horsepower ratings. You care about one thing. Is there someone nearby who can fix it right now? Bajaj made sure the answer was always yes. That's not marketing. That's loyalty engineered at the infrastructure level. Number 8, the bike that paid for a house. Bajaj Boxer, 180,000 kilometers. James from Kala, Uganda has 180,000 kilometers on his Bajaj Boxer. Original engine, never rebuilt. That's the equivalent of driving to the moon and halfway back. Let that number land. In motorcycle culture, high mileage is a badge of honor. Harley riders celebrate 50,000 miles like a milestone. American motorcycle forums debate whether 30,000 miles is too high for a used bike purchase. Meanwhile, James is running nearly 5 times that on a $2,000 machine across roads that would destroy a $20,000 adventure bike in a season. But the mileage isn't the point. The point is what those kilometers represent. School fees, rent, food on the table, medical bills paid, a house, an actual house, purchased kilometer by kilometer, fare by fare, before sunrise every single morning. In East African boda culture, the motorcycle taxi economy that moves millions of people daily across Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, A reliable bike isn't a possession, it's a business partner. Lose the bike, lose the income. Lose the income, lose everything. This is what 3 billion people actually need from a motorcycle. Not heritage, not horsepower, not a lifestyle identity. A machine that shows up every single day without fail. Japanese bikes can do that. So can Indian bikes. But only one of them costs $2,000, has parts in the next town, and was specifically engineered for the road James rides every morning. That's not a coincidence. That's a product built by people who actually listened. Number 9. Why Americans still don't see it. Royal Enfield has 152 dealerships across 48 American states right now. Harley-Davidson has over 1,400. That gap isn't just distribution, it's decades of deliberate narrative control. America didn't accidentally miss this story. It was curated out. Harley-Davidson spent most of the 20th century doing something far more valuable than building motorcycles. They built a mythology, the outlaw, the veteran, the free spirit who answers to nobody. It's one of the most successful brand identity campaigns in industrial history, right alongside Coca-Cola, Marlboro, and Levi's. By the time Japanese brands arrived in the 1970s, Harley had already made motorcycle and American identity synonymous. That's an almost unbreakable cultural lock. Add to that the dealership economics. American motorcycle dealers make margin on financing, accessories, apparel, and service, not just the bike. A $2,000 Indian commuter destroys that entire business model in one transaction. The industry has every financial incentive to keep affordable alternatives invisible. The American consumer was never given a fair chance to choose. The choice was made for them by showroom floors, magazine advertising, and a culture that confused price with quality for 70 years. Then there's ego, displacement as status symbol, engine size as masculinity metric, the unspoken embarrassment of showing up to a ride on something that costs less than a used iPhone Pro. 3 billion people never had that problem. They just needed to get to work. Number 10. The coming U.S. disruption. Royal Enfield, Bajaj, Hero. Royal Enfield just posted 46% international sales growth. Bajaj opened its first factory outside India in Brazil in 2024. Hero is planning North American entry. This isn't a threat. It's already happening. America has seen this before. In 1959, Honda entered the American market with a tagline that became advertising legend. You meet the nicest people on a Honda. It was a direct assault on Harley's outlaw mythology. Friendly, accessible, affordable. Within a decade, Honda had fundamentally restructured the entire American motorcycle industry. Harley nearly went bankrupt. The playbook exists. It's been run before. Indian brands are running a quieter version of the same play right now. Royal Enfield's Himalayan 450 sits at $5,799. That's not a compromise price. That's a calculated entry point into a market segment American manufacturers completely abandoned. The budget commuter, the daily rider, the new rider who wants to actually use a motorcycle instead of finance one. Every single condition that made Indian motorcycles dominant across 3 continents exists in rural America right now. Rough roads, long distances, limited dealer access, real utility needs. Montana, Texas, Arizona, Colorado. The geography is different. The problem is identical. Within 5 years, even a single-digit market share for Indian brands restructures the American budget motorcycle segment permanently. The dealerships know it. The Japanese brands know it. Harley knows it. The only people who don't know it yet are the American riders still financing weekend dreams on 7-year payment plans. 3 continents didn't accidentally choose the same $2,000 motorcycle. They chose the one that never let them down. America gets to make that choice now. Royal Enfield, Bajaj, Hero, TVS. These brands spent decades proving themselves on the hardest roads on earth before anyone here was paying attention. The question was never whether Indian motorcycles were good enough for America. The question is whether America is finally ready to judge a motorcycle by what it does instead of what it costs.